Well, Merry Christmas, YouTube. And if I sound a little tired while doing this, it is because, well, this is the second time I've had to do this review. Uh, this is actually kind of funny. As I sat down, I'd done this entire review already, and I kind of leaned back to put my hands behind my head as I'm leaning there thinking, literally after I finished it, and I realized, wait a minute, the microphone on my headset is up, which means the audio is going to sound really, really bad. So I had to do this entire review again. Oh joy. But yes, a very Merry Christmas Eve again, from my perspective. And of course, since it's Christmas, it's time for the traditional Doctor Who Christmas special. For those of you that are Doctor Who fans, you know all about it. For those of you that are not as familiar with Doctor Who, the classic British sci-fi series, which is still going strong. I'm not sure when it started, but they have a bit of a tradition of, outside the regular season, they do a special episode for Christmas. Because in England, Christmas is kind of a big, big holiday. I mean, it's big here in the States, no doubt, but I think culturally, as there's a very strong cultural identification with Christmas for some reason in England. I can't quite put it, because a lot of people, almost any Christian nation celebrates Christmas. Hell, there's even some non-Christian nations that still celebrate Christmas, mostly because it's of a colonial past, and even if they're not Christians, they were given off, and then after a couple decades of being ruled and you're freed, people still want to have off that day. Because let's face it, we like a day not to have to work. But I digress. This year, though, we've done a little bit of a different. Well, it's more traditional, actually. Past couple of Doctor Who Christmas specials have actually been based on traditional stories of some sort. Christmas Carol or something along those lines. This year, it's more of an original. It's based around Christmas. It's taking place around Christmas of 1892. But it's not recreating an old Christmas tale, which is good. Although I would have liked to see a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer version. Maybe next year. But in this, we have, of course, this is the mid-season episode. Which is kind of weird, because the last episode felt like it was a season finale, and it's only a mid-season. I kind of hate that. Nowadays, it almost seems like the mid-season's like... The mid-season breaks used to just be that, and there was nothing really special about them. It was just, they would do the break, and the show would come back. Now, it's to the point where they feel like they're their own seasons. Oh well. We have, of course, though, returning once again as the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, who does an interesting job, because interesting, but I don't think this was his best job, and the problem is in the first half of the episode. The Doctor is kind of in a very, very bad state. He's supposed to be kind of depressed and withdrawn that he's lost the Ponds. The Ponds, of course, being sent back into New York's history, and because of the disturbances around their being sent back there, he can't go to them because the time vortex energy there is too intense that if he were to go back to that time, it would blow up. Fans, of course, so have thought about 20,000 ways around that particular scenario. They kind of lay it out in the book like, there's no way we can go around this. And of course, you tell fans that, they will use logic to think a way around that. Which a lot of people just pointed out, well, if the time distortion around New York's so bad, why don't they just, take a train to Philly, and the Doctor can pick him up there? Because it's not like, I don't think they're ruling, it was 1940s New York. I think he's going back to the 40s at some point, so it's not like he's isolated all of the 1940s, or 50s, or whatever it was. Because we're going to see the Doctor back in that time period. So it really comes to the point. It's like, why can't the pawns just go back? Oh, because there's a gravestone. Can't they just put the gravestone up? No, they just have to hire somebody to pay and just put a gravestone up, and then the doctor will see it. You can do that in the 70s if you want. So he's supposed to be really withdrawn, but he's kind of really mixed with that. And I blame the director more for that, because Matt Smith, if he is supposed to, he can pull that type of performance off. We've seen it. He can do very good with the kind of... He does a very good job of looking really old, despite the fact he's so young. So I can only assume that this was more the director trying to kind of indicate that the old doctor is there. He's just needs a little bit of a push, but I think that direction failed big time, and you're just kind of more complex, because it seems like the doctor shouldn't be acting the way the doctor is. So you kind of see him want to have that adventure, and you're kind of wondering why he's so depressed, and you're kind of wondering why they really have to make that an element then. Also, I thought he was supposed to travel with River for a bit. In many ways, I think River should have been along for this one. And I'm not a River apologist. I know River is kind of brought across as a Mary Sue, and yeah, she kind of is a Mary Sue. But there's another Mary Sue here. Yeah. Clara, our companion for this episode, and Jenna Louise Coleman will be taking over now as the regular companion. I'll get into that seeming contradiction there in a second, considering she's also been already another character. I did not have a good impression of her. This is her kind of first official appearance as a companion, although once again they've kind of taken it where they're very good with this, where the New Who groups, where they'll take a character from earlier episodes and they'll tie him in later on in the series. They did that with Donna's grandpa, where he appeared actually in one of the Christmas episodes, from what I recall. And the doctor sees him later on, and he's like, "Yeah, we've met," which is really fine. I like how they do that, because it makes you kind of have to pay attention to these peripheral characters, because sometimes they're throwaway characters, you're never going to ever see them again, the one or two lines they spout out, and other times they will return. Ironically, Farscape kind of did that too a little bit, especially with, man, the entire rest of the series actually of Farscape kind of evolved around it seemed to be one kind of random filler episode from season 1, and then it turns out that that's the rest of the show. After 2 seasons, they kind of go back to that and they go, yeah, everything behind it revolves around that one episode, and was just a random episode at first. I kind of wonder if the writers just kind of realized they kind of, as they were writing, that this became, or did they really plan that out? I have a feeling it was more the writers started to realize as they were playing with that. But that's a discussion for another day, specifically on Farscape. Which, who knows? Considering this is Christmas, and I got a good chunk of cash. Maybe I'll see how much Farscape is on DVD. I plan on getting some good chunk of movies this Christmas, or after I get my Christmas money here. But I digress, because we're here to talk about, unfortunately, Jenna Louise Coleman's performance. And here's my problem with it. It's too much like Amy Pond, and it's an over-exaggerated Amy Pond is what she's doing, and what her character seems to be. It's like they got rid of Amy Pond, but Amy was really popular. So we'll have a character like her, but without any of the subtleties or controls. We'll just take the most talked about aspects of that character and then exaggerate them. That's bad writing. That's what bad remakes do. I'm not even kidding. That's why when people complain about remakes, it's because people will make jokes about particular aspects of a character or a plot from a movie, and when they go and remake that, they go, oh yeah, and everyone knows what the Wolverine's all about, a bunch of teenagers running around the woods. So of course they make the remake of Red Dawn, and it's, Calvin Klein models running around. And completely, yeah, there was an element of some of that, but it was more subtle in the original. And of course, bad writing bringing this stuff back is they remove the subtlety. They removed the kind of check. Yeah, there was a bit of that, but sometimes the character, sometimes the character is somewhat self-referential in his humor. Then they do that they up it by 10 when they do a remake, and it becomes not funny. Look at the Green Hornet. Yeah, like in the 60s series, Bruce Lee did a lot of the fighting. But the actual Green Hornet wasn't incompetent. Wasn't being lazy. It was just kind of a small little bit that Bruce Lee did more fighting in that than the Green Hornet did, and so people kind of made little snarky jokes about that. And then, of course, they do the remake. And that's like the entire thing is about, how the Green Hornet can't do shit. It's all the really competent Asian guy. And it's like, no, this is horrible, and it completely misses what the original was about. This wasn't what the original was doing. And in this case, it's not a remake, but it's a character. They have Clara in here, who is super aggressive, super spunky, as I like to call it. Super competent, even though she supposedly doesn't have the background where she should be in this. And she also doesn't fit the time period. Now, there might be maybe some exceptions to this, because there's some elements that she's really not. There's something special about her, but we don't find anything about that till the end of the episode, so you're really kind of thrown off by that. Where she's a barmaid at first, and then it turns out she's also a governess, which I think in Victorian terms is kind of like a female that kind of runs a wealthy household. She kind of raises the children. I think she kind of manages the house. Like if a wife has passed away, I believe. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not an expert on Victorian social standings, but it was a respectable position to have, where you're kind of running the day-to-day house. You're running the house of a wealthy person. You're governing, hence the name governess, because you're kind of running things. You're not quite a member. You're not quite officially a member of a family, nor are you supposedly, having relations with the surviving male. But you're kind of taking the place of the female mother, wife, on an employment basis. Although I'm sure sex was quite involved back in the day. But I digress. And you're kind of wondering why, this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Yeah, I can see what you're trying to do is, yes, but she likes to go and be part of a lower class stuff, so we can identify her because she's more of the common person, and that's not how it pans out. Although you're like, why the fuck is she? Why is she going back and this barmaiding then on the side occasionally? It's not like she doesn't like the family, apparently. You're just like, what? Why? You're stuck asking that question. And you didn't need to. You could have had her just kind of running out and doing some Christmas shopping when she runs into the doctor. So you have that. Then she's way too aggressive. Like right from the get-go, when she sees, she immediately starts stalking the doctor. To the point where she's even after a quick conversation, she chases after him, jumps on his carriage, and rips open the top of the carriage to look in and to talk to him. And it's what the hell? And it's not anything really fantastic. I mean, there's a little bit where it's yes, the snowman kind of forms there, but it's not like there is the snowman. I mean, the snowmen do try to kill him eventually, but it's if they had the scene where the snowmen try to eat them before they come across, before she does that, okay, something really extraordinary happened, and then I could see her running and chasing after the doctor. But after just having a quick word, I can't see it. And even worse, and this is again my point of they're trying to go with being too much of another Amy, making her special. In the original, or not the original, but with Amy, the doctor was very intrigued because of the crack in her wall. There's something special going on with her. Amy Pond was special for that. And that was different from the previous companions in the new season, or new series. None of the others were quite as spunky and as aggressive as Amy, and that was fine. That was her character trait. However, now we've just had that companion, and you're throwing another one at us, turned up to the 10th degree. And again, you're having her be special from the get-go. Not that she becomes special, that she is special, and that's what the doctor's interested with her. And even worse, maybe he kind of loves her, because she kisses him and he kind of kisses back a bit. And it's like, no, that's always... Okay, we have the thing with River, and even the thing with River somewhat works because we know it's a tragic relationship, in that we know the entire time he knows what's going to happen to her, and people still kind of don't like that. And yet you're pulling... And River's not out yet. If they had done it where River has gone and... he took him on her final trip, and she left, and then we know she went to the library. That'd be one thing. He's still, though, married. And we're supposed to be seeing more of that. Honestly, if they were going to bring back a companion for this stuff, for this season, just do the River stuff. Do the stuff with River, so we can get it over with her. Pardon me. But alas, that's not what happens here. Instead, we get this character, and I think it's a case of the writers and the showrunners pushing this character on the audience, and I have a feeling the audience is going to push back. And if there was more of a break, you would have had the time for the writers to kind of go, whoa, okay, we got to do some rewriting. The audience does not like these aspects of this character. We got to figure this out. And I also, I'm not blaming, well, I'll put it this way. All right, Jenna Louise Coleman also, her portrayal like this, you don't buy it as much. The actress that played Amelia Pond, her name escapes me at the moment, but she came across as very natural in that spunky, aggressive kind of way. Almost like you could believe that's how she's like in real life. Not so much with Jenna Louise, and she's a fine actress. She did an alright job in Asylum of the Daleks. So, and I've already criticized the director of this episode already. Who was it? The director is Saul Metzen. Let's see, has he done any other Doctor Who's? He's done a few. A Town Called Mercy, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, and the Crimson Horror he's going to be doing, and episode 14 of Series 7. So he has some experience. Town Called Mercy was kind of weird too. So maybe it's partially the director's fault, but I don't think she can pull off that type of character. And that's my big criticism with this episode. Now, who knows? Partially, at the end of the episode, it gets revealed that not only did it just happen that Clara and Oswin look similar because they're played by the same actress, but they connect them. when the doctor, she dies, goes to her grave and sees the full name, he's like, Oswin, wait a minute. I've seen her with the Daleks. There's something going on here. There's something special. The universe is doing something. And lo and behold, it cuts, and we see her in the modern day in the same cemetery with a friend. And the doctor is going to, we know the doctor is going to look for her. So it kind of establishes, again, that's the share something special. He's fascinated by that there's something special with her. So that's kind of the big twist, and who knows, maybe with the more modern setting, the spunkiness won't stand out as much as it did in Victorian England. But I think too much like Amy Pond. I mean, one of the nice things with the new series is, with Rose, Martha Jones, Donna Noble, the Ponds, they were all very different from each other. Their personalities were very different. I mean, you had Rose, who was Rose. She's kind of like the wide-eyed girl a bit, is the way I would put her. Which is great for a companion, great to reintroduce because she's that's a good audience proxy character, someone that really needs explaining, someone that, and also will kind of comment on stuff. Like she's kind of in the still finding herself phase, which is great because it gives her an excuse to kind of comment. Actually, most companions are in that, with the exception of Amy, but that's because of the circumstances they give with Amy, which I'll get into just one second. And you have, of course, Martha Jones, who's defining her career. She's dealing with her own stuff, but she brought something different. She was a little bit more set. She had a little bit more of a knowledge base. She had a special skill set. She was a doctor, a healer. So she had a more interesting. She had something to bring to the table. She was more professional. She was very, very smart as well. Then you had Donna Noble, who was kind of the classic. She's more of a homely type person. She was also older, which brought an interesting aspect. More older, not the adventurous sort, and of course, then stuck with the doctor. And then you had the Ponds, who, Amy, because of what she had as her, she had basically been brought up with the doctor, met the doctor when she was very young, had all these experiences, so her entire life was defined by her relationship with the doctor. That's very, very different than everyone else, but again, that was something that was different with her. Now they're kind of doing another version of Amy, as opposed to going something. If they're going to go similar, I would have gone with something more of a Donna Noble type. After we've just had Amy, go for the Donna Noble. That would have been a better mix. Or one thing people say, an alien companion would have been interesting. Well, I think he's had a robot companion before, and of course another time, Gallifreyan companion. But how should I put this? What type of companion would have, again, like that one, actual 1800s companion would have been really interesting. Somebody from a different time period than the modern. And even though they're going to spend most of their time in modern day, England, would have been interesting. Would have been really interesting, and I would have really bought with that. If the doctor had really just gone back and picked up a governess from the 1800s, that would have been different. She would have had her kind of reserved sensibilities, or Victorian sensibilities, dealing with the modern world and all these crazy space stuff. At least modern characters know what an alien is, and have modern technology. How they had the Rory, where Rory was the one. He goes into the TARDIS and he immediately knows, oh, it's a pocket dimension. Well, I've been reading up on science stuff after Prisoner Zero. I don't like it. But you gotta buy it. Modern characters are more equipped. 1800s would have been more interesting to see. Something like that would have worked. or hell, even maybe even like a older experience. You know what? Actually, I thought of one that would have been. This might have been a little too much like Amy as well, but plenty of vets from Afghanistan and Iraq in England. They've been contributing greatly to both wars with helping out the United States and such. It would have been interesting if they had an ex-military type. Yeah, of course he had the brigadier, but he never had a female vet kind of. I mean, later on, after Martha Jones stops being a companion, she joined up with the unit and was kind of a bit of a military type. But it would have been interesting to have like a returning like Afghan war veteran dealing with like kind of post-traumatic stress and going with the doctor and such. It would have been interesting to have that. That actually sounds like a really good idea. I would have really liked that as a companion. Someone that might be more reserved, but also maybe scarred a bit from the war, and that would have also really worked with the doctor, who was scarred by his own experiences with war. That would have been a good one. If any of the Doctor Who writers are watching, feel free to take that idea and use it. I will not sue. And now you have me recorded saying that, so. But yeah, that's my big problem here, and this is why I kind of give it a downgrade of an episode. If we had spent more time, of course, with Ian McKellen, with this entity, there you go. I mean, especially since it was this voice work, we needed more Ian McKellen, who played the snow itself. Kind of an interesting other psychic parasitic organism thing, but it's got the voice of Ian McKellen, so it makes it better. And then, of course, we have the investigative crew, as I like to call them, from the 1800s, where you have Strax, the Centauran, who was apparently he died in A Good Man Goes to War, and is now cloned. I guess he's recloned and brought back to work with what was her name? Was it Madame Vastra? Let me double check here. Yeah. Madame Vastra, who's a Centauran who I guess was awoken in the 1800s and is now a lesbian crime fighter. A lesbian Victorian crime fighter. Which they do make. There's a little bit of a. I see what you're trying to push there. When they point out that she's apparently married to her companion. All that. They even have a moment where he's more surprised that she's like the main villain of the series, which I wish was played by Ian McKellen. I wonder maybe he had some sort of contractual thing. The actual main antagonist is actually this Dr. Simeon, played by Richard Grant. I would prefer if Ian McKellen played the whole thing, but hey, maybe we'll get him back another day. He kind of sees her, and he's more surprised that she's a woman than she's a green lizard. But they had that crew. That's a fun crew to have around. So that's my overall opinion on this one. It's a episode. It's a one that you're like, some parts of it, when you're dealing with the snowmen, it's kind of enjoyable, but you have not so well done Doctor Angst and a companion that you're not really sold on. So I think this is going to be one people are mostly going to complain about. I don't think this is going to be recorded as a good holiday episode. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe everyone else is eating this one up and going, yeah! However, with that being said, the rest of Season 7 looks like it should be some good. I saw some previews. I like some of the alien designs. Some of them look spooky, like horrifying like. And I kind of like that design. Cybermen are going to be back. I didn't recall seeing a Dalek in there, but I'm sure they'll pop up at some point. I mean, come on, because we have the 50th anniversary episode. You gotta have a Dalek in there. You can't not have a 50th anniversary and not have a Dalek. That's gonna be interesting too when they finally do that, because I've heard that they plan on having every incarnation of the Doctor in that episode. How is going to be interesting, because at first it was just they're going to try to get every living Doctor to appear in it. Okay, that makes sense. Most of the no, Christopher Eccleston said that he wasn't going to show up. So, and then now that they're saying every incarnation, well, some of the Doctors are dead. So, or some of the actors, I should say, that played the Doctors are dead. That I imagine you're either going to do almost like probably a Tron Legacy type, and just get a voice actor that can sound a lot like the original, like those Doctors. You know, you can have them on screen like, oh, we need someone to maneuver this. I'll run, pop up on screen. I'll control it from where I'm at. Although, ironically, whenever they try to show the older, the original Doctor, he's supposed to be the wisest, but I'm thinking, like, the original Doctor is actually the youngest out of them all. It's kind of always weird. It's the inverse here. Unless he's doing the Merlin thing and he's aging backwards. But I digress. It looks good. I'm positive. I like most of the episodes. I really like Matt Smith. I think this episode was this week for, like kind of said, after looking at the director's filmography for previous episodes he's done on Doctor Who, they're not the strongest episodes. Town Called Mercy, meh. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, that was okay. I didn't mind Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. But again, that was his first time, so maybe, unfortunately. I haven't seen anything else he has done. A lot of British stuff, it looks like. British TV. I Shouldn't Be Alive. Documentary, so it's hard to tell. A lot of documentary stuff. Hard to tell that. But, I'm still happy. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be looking forward to the rest of the season, though. Speaking of which, I would expect either tomorrow at some point. Actually, no. By the time this is up, it'll actually probably be the same day. But gonna probably have a movie review up tomorrow. It's either gonna be Django Unchained or Les Miserables. Les Miserables, I should say. I have a couple of friends who they've got movie tickets as well, I believe. If they plan on going to the movies tomorrow, they might want to see Django Unchained, even though I want to see Les Miserables. So I might go see that tomorrow instead. If it's just me going to the movies, we're probably just going to see Les Miserables. I keep on wanting to say Les because of how it's got the LES, but apparently the S is silent in French. So I would expect that review up. I was going to do the Neuromancer review, but I kind of had to redo this one. So I've talked enough, because now I've talked about Doctor Who for well over an hour, because I did another half-hour long review before I did this one, and had to re-record it. So I'm spent, because it's been a long day. It's been a long Christmas day. We've had my brother, of course, comes down with his newly adopted puppy, or his 2-year-old pit bull, which, I don't know, some people get freaked out by pit bulls. This thing's a baby, but he's really highly energetic. He's a cute little thing. He comes up always. He's a baby, actually. He's almost like he's like a poodle in a pit bull's body. He wants to be like a small lap dog or a purse dog, but he's a pit bull. But he's really highly energetic, so we've been kind of playing with him all day long. Not to mention, the night before, of course, we had our Christmas Eve party. A lot of friends down. Well, not a lot of friends this year. Decent, a couple of close friends. But then, of course, you had also me and my brother. He got a bottle of Grey Goose from one of his friends up at school. So we partaked in that on top of the beers and Mike's Hard Lemonade. So I was surprised I didn't have a hangover this morning, really. And of course, wake up. It's Christmas, so you kind of feel compelled to wake up early because nobody wants to be like the one person everyone else is waiting to get up on Christmas. So it's like as soon as you hear one person up on Christmas, you're like, I gotta get out of bed. So you'll wind up waking up earlier than you usually would. You've got the excitement, and then on top of all that stuff, including a couple more drinks, you've got the turkey dinner, which actually was more of a lunch, but you have turkey on top of all that, and so you're drowsy by the end of the day. And I'm pretty much, as soon as I post this, I'm gonna pass out. But it's a good Christmas. And I hope you guys all out there had an excellent Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you had an enjoyable day. I hope you at least enjoyed Doctor Who. You had that benefit. So stay tuned, please subscribe, comment if you wish, and have a Merry Christmas, and stay tuned for a Happy New Year as well, because we're going to have to soon get into the top tens of the year. I guess I'm going to try, like I said before, I'm going to try to mix up a bit. I guess I'll probably do a quick top 10 list, but I think the main it's going to be more of a best of, worst of year. We'll have of course number one movie of the year, and probably top 5, bottom 5, but then we'll also have like best sequel, best original, worst remake. Our own little mini awards show for the year. So stay tuned for that. It should be some fun. And like I said, hopefully we'll get a couple more reviews in before that. Maybe some game reviews too. I'm playing through. I've got Dishonored to play through now. I've got Black Ops. I know everyone else has been playing Black Ops for a while. I know every year I wind up getting Call of Duty for Christmas, so I don't bother getting it when it comes out. And then on top of all that, you got the Steam sale going on, which I'm picking up stuff left and right. Got playing some Fear 2 on there, playing this new independent game, Ravaged. Got Kodar 2 on there, which I still haven't played through Kodar 1 on the PC yet, but hey, what the hell. And I'm going to probably, now that I've got my Christmas money and I have an idea of what I can spend, they expect me to pick up a few more things. Overall, nice Christmas. And again, same to all you out there, signing off.